And Jenny Horne, co-host of Next Gen Investing, is with us talking about an upgrade for Microsoft. Tell us a little bit about that. Good morning, Jenny.
Good morning, Nicole. And yeah, some upside from Oppenheimer today in regards to Microsoft as they did upgrade shares to outperform from perform. More notably than that $600 price target they see now for the next 12 months. But the firm does believe that investors' overall attention to the ramp of Microsoft's AI revenue stream will only increase as now Azure's growth remains strong, offering not only valuation support, but also upside potential as this revenue stream continues scaling fast, and investors embrace Microsoft as one of the long-term AI winners in software. They also went on to say they further believe that sustaining now robust growth in its AI business is not fully appreciated, nor is it a reacceleration in Azure's growth now in fiscal 2026. Microsoft, in their opinion, is also going to be one of the only few vendors in the software industry capable of delivering a Rule of 60 business profile at an unprecedented scale, which they do think now lends good support to these premium multiples. So as we know, in a lot of these Mag 7 names, or a lot of these actually just frankly tech names, we've seen valuations definitely run up pretty historically. As right now, the month of July has closed, actually this is amazing to me, the month of July for the S&P 500 has closed every time higher since 2015. So hugely right now, though, led by tech, which then gives a concern of with these lofty valuations, with tech propping up so much of this market, are we at risk then for, the further erasing and unraveling of some of this momentum? I would say chances of that are probably always yes, but Microsoft definitely has been one of the leaders of some of that recovery and the overall, really, I'd say, appetite for some of these frothy names returning to the market. So they have been quiet this week, as has the rest of the broader tech space has been a bit mixed, but Microsoft's still looking like one of the major leaders really outside of NVIDIA as far as its AI monetization efforts, which is so huge.
It's amazing what they said within that report. I mean, you covered a lot of it about the Azure growth, how that will provide value, that the AI business is not fully priced into the stock, delivering at unprecedented scale, really giving a lot of credit here to Microsoft as the power player in its field.
Yeah, and I think that we've seen, the price really reflective of all of that optimism, because this is a rare name outside of, again, maybe NVIDIA that we've seen, consistency now as far as its 250-day moving averages. We broke out really following its last quarterly earnings report and have been in a consistent uptrend, fairly speaking, ever since. We're now down off of those all-time highs by about 0.8%, but Microsoft, I think, has shown the fact that in a time of volatility and uncertainties with trade and some of the export controls, that it is a contender in the AI trade. We do also hear from them the end of July with the rest of the tech heavyweights. July 29th is when we'll get their fourth quarter. So that will be here hopefully before we know it, because I do think that tech right now has a lot to prove with, again, Microsoft trading at just over 34 times its forward earnings.
Yeah, I want to ask about Apple. Meantime, NVIDIA has now is maybe challenging Apple's top market cap as NVIDIA is approaching this $4 trillion and may break the record. $4 trillion may break the record for the market cap. But in the meantime, the C-suite at Apple, and we're seeing some changes. What's the latest there?
So the latest is we're seeing Apple's COO right now transition. Jeff Williams will be transitioning to his role as Chief Operating Officer later this month, transitioning that to Sabbath Khan, which is Apple's Senior Vice President of Operations, as part of this long-planned succession. Williams will be continuing to report to Apple CEO Tim Cook and overseeing their world-class design team and the Apple Watch specifically, alongside their health initiatives. But their design team will then transition to reporting directly to Cook after Williams then retires later this year. So to me, it doesn't sound like necessarily any bad blood there, as he does seem like this is the end of his career with Apple. And so I think not to read too much into that, as I know that yesterday the headline of Meta stealing a top AI executive from Apple was read as a pretty, I mean, it's just the latest thorn in Apple's side as far as its AI presence and where it's now growing and monetizing, hopefully, in the long term. But this announcement, I do think that does mark, again, the latest senior executive to depart from the company, as in the last 8 months, we've seen several of these major executives at the company shift focus or shift companies, or in this case, retire, of course. And Morgan Stanley actually did mention that in a note today, saying that it doesn't appear that CEO Tim Cook will be stepping down anytime soon. That would be, I think, perhaps much more headline grabbing, of course, but they do also did note that with these various SVPs, like some of their hardware engineering and their software engineering, are right now looking to just be what we see from just the cyclical nature of some of these massive businesses. So they do still have an overweight rating, $235 price target on Apple. I will say it's been amazing because comparatively to Microsoft here, the lack of participation from Apple and the recovery, well, yes, we've risen off lows. We have been nowhere close to all-time highs. It's been amazing to see the market perform as well as it has without really Apple's help.
Yeah, and look, tech overall has an up arrow this morning. You have a big picture thought, anything you want to add?
I will say that I've been watching also that NVIDIA market cap, because I know that Dan Ives was calling for like the $4 trillion club by the end of this summer. But I know it's only mid-July, and it seems like we'll get there before we know it. And then we're talking $5 trillion. I mean, just some of these ridiculous market caps. But I don't really know what will right now necessarily halt that momentum. That's right now feels like a freight train. You don't want to get in front of it when it comes to NVIDIA. And I think that finding that second has been impossible. Just focus on what works right now, and that frankly has been all things NVIDIA.
All right, Jenny Horne, great to see you on this Wednesday. Thank you so much.